Good evening. Tonight we're looking for our fifth winner to go through to the semi-final, and he or she will be the person who comes through 5 tough tests with the highest Krypton Factor on that scoreboard. So with our 4 contestants all poised, ready to be tested for intelligence, physical ability, personality, observation and general knowledge, let's go straight into the first section, which as always is intelligence. And as the weeks go by, we've probed different areas of intelligence. Tonight we're interested in our contestants' ability to adapt to fairly novel circumstances. So contestants, in a moment you will hear a poem read to you. In that poem there will be a number of times, 3:30, 9:45, 12:10, that sort of thing. At the same time, you will see on your screens 9 clock faces. But, and it's a big but, those clock faces are reversed. They are mirror images. So if you're looking for the time of 4 o'clock, you would not be looking for this among the 9 clock faces, but for this, which is the reverse or mirror image of 4 o'clock. So, if you understand that, would you now like to turn and face your screens? And there, coming up, you will see your 9 clock faces. Remember, they are reversed, they are mirror images. In the poem, only 4 of the times mentioned are included in those 9 clock faces. What we want you to do is to feed in the numbers of the 4 clock faces that are the mirror images of the times in the poem. And it's important that you get them in the right order. So would you now put on your earphones, which are on the seats beside you. And when you're comfortable, we will begin. So put on your earphones as quickly as you can. Remember, we just want 4 numbers in the end, in the right order. So if you're ready, the poem is coming up now.
I wandered, lonely as a cloud, at 10 to 8 o'er vales and hills, and some time later saw a crowd at 9:10 of daffodils. Beside the lake, beneath the trees, I sat me down at 11:03. Continuous as the stars that shine from 10:30 to break of day, they stretched in never-ending line along the margin of a bay. 11:15, and I knew the signs, and by 20 to 1 had scribbled 10 lines. 3 o'clock and still going strong, and it'll be a poem for all time, for lovers, for mothers, for husbands who've gone to catch the 8:40 or the 5 to 9. But golly, time's flying. 5:30. I'd better get home, or I'll miss my steak pie. And then, supper over, when on my couch I lie at 8:30 with cup of tea, I think of that delightful sight and my amazing poetry. 9 o'clock, and Dorothy's in, so it's away with the tea and out with the gin.
Well, that's it. The intelligence section is always a very tough section, and tonight was no exception. So as the numbers fed in by our contestants are being computed, let's now look at the right answer. And the first correct clock in the poem was number 6, which is the reverse of 9:10. Then it's clock number 9, which is the reverse of 20 to 1. Next, clock number 3, the reverse of 5 to 9, and finally number 5, the reverse of 5:30. So the answer we want, and remember we want them in the right order, are clock numbers 6, 9, 3 and 5. So, awarding the points now as we see how everyone's done. Let's start with you, Patricia Ty. We have your numbers now, and you fed in 9, 4, 3, 5. So comparing that with the correct order above, you've got 3 right, and 2 of those, and that's the important thing, are in the right order. Lance Hayward, you gave 2, 9, 0, 5, so you've got 2 right, and both of them are in the right order. Deane Ransom, you gave 9, 4, 5, 3, so you've got 3 right. But unluckily, none of them are in the right order. You just must have missed one, put you out of sequence. Barry Davis, you gave 6, 4, 2, 5, so you got 2 right, and both of those are in the right order. So, awarding the points now, Patricia Ty, with the most correct answers, gets the 10 points. And then we have a tie for second place between Lance Hayward and Barry Davis, so it's 6 points to each of them. And then, perhaps a little bit unluckily, I think, Deane Ransom in 4th place with 2 points. which means that the early leader after just one section is Patricia Tighe with a maximum 10 points. Well, still a long way to go as we move on now to the assault course, which means our physical ability test. And you remember last week Harry Evans showed everyone how to tackle those 13 obstacles, romping home in the fastest time so far of 1 minute and 5 seconds. So let's see if our contestants can get close to or even better than that time this week. So as we've seen in previous weeks, a very tough course indeed, 13 obstacles and all, and we've got our usual handicap system to allow for age and sex, and let's see now how that affects our 4 contestants. In lane 1 we've got Patricia Tighe, and at aged 43 she has an advantage of 68 yards, which in fact takes her beyond the first obstacle, but as we've seen in previous weeks, she'll need all of that to finish the course and be in with a chance of winning. In lane 2 there is Deane Ransom. He's aged 51 and he has 40 yards advantage. In lane 3, in the blue tracksuit, Lance Hayward, who at age 41 has a 20-yard advantage over the man in lane 4, Barry Davis, who's aged 31.
Competitors, take your marks.
And away they go, and as I said, Patricia Tighe avoids the first obstacle and is already on obstacle 2, and showing in the back markers is the man in blue, Lance Hayward, who's rapidly catching up now on Patricia Tighe as he goes over the gate vault. But still, Patricia Tighe out in front. In blue, catching her up now is Lance Hayward, followed by Barry Davis. And it's now neck and neck as they go to the duckboard. In fact, Lance Hayward is now in the lead as he goes into the double ditch. Now onto the poles and onto the open ditch, and he's now got a very clear lead and a new person into second place, which is Barry Davis. But Lance Hayward in the lead, followed by Barry Davis. Patricia Tighe holding third place, and up to the ramp now. This is where the muscles begin to ache, and this has proved quite a difficult one in previous rounds. He must stay on that or you'd have to go back and redo that particular one, but he completes that, goes into the maze. He's got one obstacle after this to go to the finish. Lance Hayward from North London, and he goes up to the testing one of all, the swing across the pit on that rope. Hangs on. If he gets across that, he's only got about 10 strides to the finish. And over he goes in a time of 1 minute 18 seconds, so well outside the record of 1:05. But at age 41 he is the oldest winner we've had so far. And coming through on second place there on the rope is Barry Davis, and he completes that successfully and comes across to the finish. Now it's going to be tight for third place because Patricia Tighe, who's there at the moment, has gone down to walking pace. But Deane Ransom is virtually at walking pace as well, but just got a bit of a trot there, and he's going to get up to the rope first. I think Patricia Tighe is absolutely finished, but will Deane Ransom have the strength to get over the rope? He does in an unorthodox fashion, but he's over, and that's what counts. So Deane Ransom comes home in third place, and that leaves Patricia Tighe, who's just completed the rope jump, to come through in fourth place. So the points, Lance Hayward 10, Barry Davis gets 6 points in second place, third Deane Ransom 4 points, fourth Patricia Tighe 2 points. So let's put those scores then into the scoreboard to see how the situation changes. And now we've got a tie in second place between Barry Davis and Patricia Tighe with 12 points, but the new leader is Lance Hayward with 16 points. Well, we'll see if that situation alters as we go on now to our personality section. And this is where we gave our contestants the night to write a 30-second witty script on a subject that we gave them. And then they had to deliver that script to you through the camera. And if they made a mess of it, well, they made a mess of it because there's no second chance in this program. It's one take only. And the subject we gave them this time was to write a letter of rejection for an idea or an invention which has since become commonplace. For instance, they might write to John Logie Baird telling him his invention of television was ludicrous and couldn't happen. So, first to go is Patricia Tighe, who decided to reject the whole idea of rain.
Dear God, your rain sample arrived. Very good. Overall coverage excellent. Too wet though. Puddles are everywhere and trees continue to drip well after the rain ceased. Taste experiments were unsatisfactory. The specially selected Irish control group judged it no acceptable alternative to poachine. Mrs. Lamech washed her cow in it, and Mrs. Enoch actually washed herself. Both ladies were delighted with the results, but they're hardly representative and admitted mixing additives to obtain a more efficient substance. Practicality very doubtful, but do go on trying. Keep in touch, Noah.
Patricia Tighe rejecting rain. Now to Lance Hayward, turning down Christopher Columbus's idea that the world is round.
Give me a break. It's escaped your notice, perhaps, that this year of grace 1492 is about to go down in history for the reconquest of Granada. At a time like that, I should try to interest their majesties in the proposition that the world's cylindrical. They'd have a bulldog's fit, and I should find myself indefinitely suspended by Torquemada. Take my advice. By the time you reach India going that direction, you'll find yourself seeing little red men with feathers instead of hair. By no stretch of your imagination or my neck.
Christopher Columbus's idea rejected. Now here's Deane Ransom turning down the idea of nylon tights.
The board feel that the project will have no direct application to private sectors of the consumer belt other than at sensitive points already exposed. 2. Vis-a-vis man as a bifurcated, vertically orientated mobile unit, support systems such as braces are required. Since the project is directed at the female group, upmarket movement could produce downmarket chafing. 3. In testing at personal level, our chairman became very involved and now speaks highly.
And finally to Barry Davis, who rejects one particular applicant to his ballet school.
Regarding your application for your son Rudolph to enter ballet school, we regret we are unable to accept him. Whilst we have studied his demi-plie with great interest and admired his pirouette, we are unhappy about his entrechat, and we find his elevation just a little too bold. All in all, we feel that Rudolph does not show sufficient potential. Although we must acknowledge that, for his age, his grand jeté is unusually outstanding. Finally, if Rudolph does continue with his ballet career, we can only see him having small parts.
Well, now you've heard all 4 scripts, time for the marking, and that's where public opinion decides. The Scantel Market Research Organisation took those recordings you've just watched out to 20 cities and towns throughout the country and asked a cross-section of the public to judge them for their wit, originality and presentation. So now we can give you the results of our public opinion poll. Of those people interviewed, 37% plumped for Barry Davis, 10 points for Rudolf Nureyev, 28% went for Patricia Tighe, so 6 points for Rain, 19% chose Lance Hayward, 4 points for the world staying square, and 16% went for Deane Ransom, so 2 points for nylon tights. So let's now put those scores into our master scoreboard to see what the situation is now. And we've got Lance Hayward in second place with 20 points, but our new leader is Barry Davis with 22 points. Well, now it's our observation test, and by now both you and our contestants know exactly what to expect, a clip of film and then some fairly detailed questions about it. But as everyone gets to know what to expect in these rounds, so we make them more difficult. So, contestants, would you like to turn now and look at your screens? And coming up in a few seconds will be this week's clip of film. Watch it carefully.
Stop playing if you want to.
And you let a fool like that take you?
Airspeed +5.
Captain Denver, your aircraft is wired up to explode. You will do exactly as I say. And when we touch down, I want you to come to rest on the runway furthest from the terminal buildings.
Airspeed +8.
Tango Oscar, landing time 30. You're cleared in first taxiway right, parking Golf 3. Alert to fire station.
Fire station on standby.
Crash alarm.
Crash alarm.
He took off the anti-skid. Now that, Captain, will be your last deliberate mistake.
I can't think straight with a gun in my neck.
Oh, well, you better learn to. Now, listen. There are 4 of us, and we are all wearing these. I press that, and this plane goes up in 2 seconds.
A clip there from the film Ransom. 3 questions each, now in the usual style, 2 points for every correct answer. First, Patricia Tighe. When the plane was landing, were its windscreen wipers working or not?
No.
Correct, 2 points. What was the name of the airline displayed on the side of the plane?
May Air or Kia.
May Air is correct, 2 points. Dialogue. What was the second instruction the control tower gave to the fire station? Second instruction. Must have an answer.
I don't know.
No points. It was crash alarm. On to Lance Hayward. When the plane was landing, was it cleared for taxiway left or right?
Left.
Wrong. It was right, I'm afraid. Visual question now. How many firemen came down the poles?
4.
It was 6. No points again. How did one of the hijackers describe the old man who had a go at the beginning of the film?
You always do the wrong thing.
No, he described him as a fool, so no points there for you. Dean Ransom, you saw a close-up of a hijacker's watch. How many dials were inlaid in the face of the watch? 2 or 3?
2.
Wrong, it was 3. How many fire engines left the fire station at the airport?
2.
Correct, 2 points. What did the control tower give as the landing time for the plane? An answer, please.
3:50.
No, it was 3-0. No points there. Barry Davis, what was the plane's airspeed just before the hijacker entered the flight deck? +5 or +8?
Just before, it was +5.
Correct, 2 points. The first fire engine rushing to the scene had a number on the side. What number?
Number 2.
Correct, 2 points. What was the plane's call sign?
Don't know.
Mike Tango Oscar, so no points there. Well, as you know by now, there's a maximum of 10 points to be won in this round, but of the 6 so far available, nobody got them all, but Perry Davis and Patricia Tighe were best with 4 points each, but you can all now add 4 more points to your totals, depending on your ability to solve our identity parade. You remember at the beginning of that film, one of the hijackers was attacked by the old man. We want you to identify that hijacker. Not surprisingly, we've got 9 of them from which to choose. Which one of those 9 hijackers was in that film clip you saw? So as they parade across in front of you, decide which one is the man in the film. And now as they line up for the last time, you've got indicator boards on your laps, contestants. In a moment I'll ask you to press the number that corresponds with the number of the hijacker that was in the film. So have your last look, and when I give you the word press the button, will you press now? Right, you have all made your choice. Patricia Tighe has gone for number 4. Could I ask number 4 to step forward, please? Lance Hayward has also gone for number 4. Dean Ransom has picked hijacker number 7. Would he step forward, please? And Barry Davis, like Lance Hayward and Patricia Tighe, has gone for number 4. So, which was the hijacker in the film? Can I ask him now to make himself known? Right, it was hijacker number 6, actor John Cording. So none of you spotted our hijacker. We therefore feed in the scores you got in that observation round into our scoreboard, and with 1 round to go, very close indeed, but still the leader is Barry Davis with 26 points. But Lance Hayward and Patricia Tighe in contention as we go into the last round. General knowledge, 1 point for the correct answer. They lose a point if they get it wrong, and we feed those totals into the scoreboards behind them so that we can watch their scores as we progress to the finish. Question 1. Which mythological king nearly starved because everything he touched? Interrupted by Barry Davis.
Midas.
King Midas, correct. A point to you. Mydriasis is a condition which affects which part of the human body? The answer is the pupil of the eye. Which pupil of Ghirlandaio is responsible for the ceiling of the Sistine Chapel? Barry Davis.
Michelangelo.
Correct, 1 point. The castle of St. Angelo in Rome is the tragic setting for the last act, interrupted by Lance Hayward.
Tosca.
Tosca is correct, 1 point to you. Toscanini reputedly never used a score to conduct with. Why was a score of no use to him? The answer was he was short-sighted. Is short-sightedness cured by concave or convex lenses? Deane Ransom.
Convex.
Wrong, it's concave. You lose a point from your total. Cave Canem is a Roman warning against what? Deane Ransom.
Dogs.
Correct, 1 point back to you. In which part of the year do the dog days fall? Deane Ransom.
August.
We will take that in midsummer, 1 point to you. Will Summers and John Hayward both held an entertaining job at the court of Henry, interrupted by Lance Hayward.
He's Jester.
Court Jester is correct, 1 point to you. The Court Jester was a 1956 film which starred an American singer-comedian, interrupted by Patricia Tighe.
Danny Kaye.
Correct, 1 point to you. K is the chemical symbol for Lance Hayward.
Potassium.
Correct, 1 point to you. TASS is the name of what? Lance Hayward.
Soviet News Agency.
Correct, 1 point to you. Which American newspaper originated the motto, all the news that's fit to print? Answer was the New York Times. If New York used to be known as New Amsterdam, what used to be called New Holland? The answer is Australian. With just under a minute to go, Patricia Tighe and Lance Hayward have 23 points, Barry Davis 28 points. Who is the Australian writer, the author of Voss, who won the Nobel Prize for Literature in 1973? Lance Hayward.
Sidney Nolan.
Sorry?
Sidney Nolan.
No, it was Patrick White. You lose a point from your total. On the Isle of Wight, at its extreme western tip, there are some white 100-foot, interrupted by Lance Hayward.
The Needles.
The Needles is correct. You get your point back. A needle will float in a bowl of water. What property of the liquid makes this, interrupted by Lance Hayward?
The meniscus.
Correct. Surface tension. Joseph, Charles and Sir Oliver Surface are characters in Lance Hayward.
The School for Scandal.
School for Scandal is correct. 1 point to you. The School for Scoundrels and The Bells of St. Trinian's were both films which featured the same head teacher. Who was he? Lance Hayward.
Alistair Sim.
Alistair Sim is the correct answer. 1 point to you. That's the end of the round and the contest, which means that our winner tonight with a Krypton Factor of 28 is Barry Davis. But so close at the finish, Lance Hayward pulling right up, just 2 points behind. Patricia Tighe close behind as well with 23. A few problems with Deane Ransom's scoreboard, but out of contention with 11. We shall be back with another Krypton Factor next week, looking for another semi-finalist. Until then, good night.